Westminster Hall. I'll be drawing a math professor from the 1800s. So this is what I have so far. So I have a couple references of our character Atlas 1, and so we have, so we're just doing some clean up with the layers and centralize everything. All right. So generally, I was doing a lot of research or some research on different like physicists from the time period. Um, people came up to Thomas Edison, John Dalton, but I'm not going to get into the specifics of that. But I just wanted to find something to jog my brain, and but I also kind of found this cool like brass protractor, and I was like, this would be a dope shape. So I don't. I'm gonna do something interesting. We might do a complete overhaul of Atlas's design and like potentially turn his gauntlets into the protractors themselves, just to create a really fun shape. And so that was like one ideas floating in my head right now. But before I get to that, let's just kind of establish the professor look. So I want to give him kind of like I'm gonna give him a kind of long coat, and a double-breasted. I'll give him the double-breasted kind of suit jacket underneath. I really like that one. We're gonna kind of move some things over just a little bit. Right. And then because of his arms, because his kind of arms, his hands getting really big, we're gonna have to give him a really short jacket sleeves. And so I have the basic shape down. We got that knocked out. We're gonna do these pants. And then we're gonna give Atlas a comb over again today. Comb over his back. And we have to give him glasses. Do that. Give him a little mustache. And then actually what I'll do is something we haven't I'll adjust, I haven't explored, but I will adjust the pose of Atlas's hand. So he's kind of like pointing to something to imply that he's pointing to something. Do something a little different. And then now, because of that, we get to see kind of the rest of his jacket and his coat a little bit more. And what I'll actually do, because this is, I will play around with the idea of him using um, him kind of holding the protractor and maybe using some form of like electromagnetism to kind of wield it and float it. And it's kind of floating and suspended in air, but just playing with some kind of fantastical elements. Can't forget the shoes. We're actually gonna give him just a vest for now. Do the vest and then get the jacket. And right now his arm is sort of overlapping that. So I may play with the idea of like maybe him holding a book with the other hand. Maybe he's reading, maybe he's studying something else, studying a new concept as he's reading. So playing around with that. So that'd be pretty cool to just sort of tell a story. So boop, we got that. And so we have the basic sketch established. We're going to continue to kind of push this forward. So we're going to isolate all of our resource, our reference images. And I think what I want to do, I'm going to make this like a perfect circle, so it looks like a floating disc. Just because I love that shape of the protractor, and I just was like, this is awesome. So let's roll with it. So yeah, he has like this floating protractor. Boom. So now we can really focus on the design. So we're going to start off. I'm going to actually clean up the line work. Clean this up. We're gonna use thinner lines this time to get to like the details of the glasses. And so I'm gonna actually add a new something extra to Atlas, some type of I guess small bolt to hold up his glasses in this iteration. So we have like a little bolt there. We have the cables of his hair kind of swooped over that. We got a little mustache there of cables that just poke out there. And right now, I think because we're in a sort of cleanup phase, it might be a good time to stabilize our brush and just make sure the line work is a little cleaner. And for today, for his vest, we're going to make it just single buttons. It's not double breasted or anything. So that. So we got our professor. We got our coat. There's our pockets. Don't forget the pockets. So we got a little fabric. And then now we're gonna draw his hands. So I'm just going for the overall shape. So right now I'm trying to grab some like to make his finger a little dimensional, give it some depth. And so we have that. Got that going. Let's put some more pockets. Let's give him a belt. So let's see if we got some good enough references to see if we can like pull up a distinct kind of belt design. Nope. All right. The vests are covering the belt, so we're gonna go with that one. We're gonna follow that design, that aesthetic. So we got the creases in the pants. We're just sketching out this book. Working on the spine of the book. All right. So in these specific items, we may want to we're going to put on a separate layer. Just we don't want that to interfere with anything. So isolated those shapes. So this will be our book layer. And we'll add book and then we'll do protractor. And sometimes if I feel like I don't have enough details or clarity of like what to draw or how to clean up a particular like um, angle of a hand or something, I'll go in with the red lines and just play around with the forms just so I can get the right pose that I like. And then making sure it's kind of consistent. I want to incorporate other aspects from that design, from the original Atlas design. So let's hold the book. So it's three fingers, so I'm going to work with that. All right. So pretty much have that. I'm kind of happy with that, so we can push forward. Just tightening things up a little bit. I accidentally started blending things together. All right, so that's pretty good. All right, so now I kind of know what the hand's gonna look like. So once I'm finished cleaning this up, I'll just delete the layer. Lower the opacity just a tad bit. And we can also turn this layer off some more so we don't need those details. And we can begin cleaning up this hand. So I'm just going to get a few cracks, few crevices, wrinkles to the fabric. And just working on the other pieces of the gauntlet. Just getting these hands to look pretty interesting. And so we'll even lower the opacity of the book so we can see the hands a little more clearer. Okay. So I'm probably going to shorten the hand finger a little bit. It's getting too big. Okay, I'm happy with that now. Perfect. All right, so now we're flushing out the pages to this book. I don't know if it's encyclopedia, if it's maybe some specific book about physics. All right, so we now have our book drawn. Okay, so our book is completed. All right, that looks pretty good. And so that's pretty much done. So now we can focus on drawing our protractor. And so I'll go back here to our protractor layer. Just draw these lines, horizontal lines. And the fun part about Procreate is that you can actually, if you drag and hold a shape, it will perfectly smooth out the lines for the most part. And so now we have our brass protractor that's floating, it's levitating. And so that looks pretty cool. Has a little bit of dimensions. That's why I incorporated this kind of thicker line to give it some level of dimension, depth. That's pretty awesome. And we also want to get some tick marks. So I'm going to pull up our reference image of this protractor and just do a little bit of detailing. And so right here, I'm not trying to make it perfect, just to express an idea or point. So let's pull up our references. And generally, when I'm designing something like this with like with just numbers, I'm not a huge fan of like over doing too many details. So I'm just gonna do some tick marks and just keep it moving. And the numbers could almost be like scribbles, that almost. And so just gonna go around this protractor, get these edges. Uh, so we got our tick marks. Okay. So we got a protractor, and now we're going to oops, touch that up a little bit. All right, that's pretty awesome. So that's done. We have our book, protractor, so we can move these sketch elements to another layer section. Turn that off, group them together. So they are now out of the way. And we're going to pull up our reference swatches. So we're gonna delete this a little bit so you don't focus on that. So now we have our reference colors. And so we're just gonna gonna subtract a little bit, and we're gonna do more earth tones and brown colors. Uh, so we'll do that. All right, got that going. And we're gonna use the white for that part. We're gonna get this reference image out the way. All right, I want to get the hands going. And just continue working on this coat. Okay, so we got that. And I may actually debate about darkening this a little bit just because I kind of want more contrast. Let's see. Brush is too big. All right, there we go. So I'm actually going to do a darker brown color and play around with like maybe the bigger coat, the overcoat is going to be a darker brown, darker earth tone. So let's use that just to complement See fast a little bit more. Right. So we have our jacket. And just filling in those details. Filling in those open the negative space. That's what this is called. Oh, whoops. So generally in Procreate you can do this. You can do this function if you grab the color, it will fill any like open spaces, but you kind of have to close it off and cap it. But it doesn't like us today, so we'll keep going. Right. So we're almost done with that. And so when I was creating this, coming up with this idea, I really wanted to just show maybe a math professor, just because throughout this entire week we've seen like engineers, we've seen inventors, um, mechanics, like more of a mad scientist, but wanted to show you someone who's a little more studious and put together. Alrighty. And we're going to use the dark gray or light, let's use the light gray to get these kind of bolts that are on the side of his glasses. There. I'm going to clean up some of this other line work. It's blocking. There we go, just to make it seem more dimensional, have more structure and integrity. So because I have line smoothing on, looks much better. Cool. Okay, so we got that. Okay. We're gonna bring this layer up here. I'm gonna take this dark gray color and use that for his hair. Take that, get rid of that. And I'm actually gonna take the red from his shoes and make the book red, or maybe a darker variation of red. Just so we have a steady rhythm, repetition of colors, and then we'll use some type of yellow accent on the book, like the border of the book. Perfect. All right. And then last but not least, we're going to work on the brass protractor. Or this gold protractor, it's more so gold. So we're gonna do that. After I finish cleaning up some of this line work or some of the color that's kind of jumping outside of the lines. Go. And we're also going to take some of those buttons and make them a dark brown just so this pops even more. So when you see this character from far away, it kind of reads with the yellow and the browns and the reds. So we have that. And so once I have all of my flat colors completed, we're going to jump into shading and shadows and in making Atlas 1 look reflective. Play around with those. All right. Now we're going to go and actually clean up this bolt on his face. Just something to have his glasses kind of sit on. Okay. And then we're going to draw our brass protractor. So I'm going to put that object on a separate layer because you have the overlap between the protractor and the finger floating. So we're going to pull some gold, this, and just fill that in. So now you see how the hands being covered up, that part of the finger that overlaps. So now it has like even more dimension. And I'll actually loop. I'm actually gonna group protractor into its own layer, so you have all the different uh, layers, the line work, the colors, the flat colors, all in one space. And we're also going to play around with sheen with the glasses. So I'm going to take this like light white color and use that as an element of the glasses. And then we're going to lower the opacity on that. So We have that, so there's some level of just like reflectivity and like glasses. It's transparent, some transparency. So we have that. Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to change the color a little bit so it's a little bit darker. And so that's good to go. And now we can start adding like lighting effects to this character design. All right, so now that that is done, I'll just hide this for a second. See, oh, do an invert. So we're going to actually highlight this section and invert it and create a thing called a mask. So this mask will just hide information. All right, so now that all the colors have been established, we can start dropping in our shadows. So I'm going to start off with the clipping mask again. We're going to rename this shadows, multiply, and then drop it to like 55%. So 55%, that's what I'm feeling like today. So let's do 55 and then use a blue color as our tone. And right now it's on normal, so we're going to set it to multiply. So now we have some lighting with Atlas. And I kind of want to use a little something more textural. So let's play around with some other brushes that I use in different projects. So I'll use like a fountain tip pen to give it a more of a texture look when I erase and subtract. And I'm actually going to lower the opacity a little bit more just because. And I like to use a really cool brush to get this kind of wispy look of the metals. And because it's metal, I can also just blend it to soften it a little bit more. There we go. And so we're going to think about this as a form of light source because he's going to produce a form of like electromagnetism and control the protractor. So we have that. And we're going to get little highlights on his shoes. And so we can start with that. Get some dimension there. So now we have our shadows. We can start adding highlights. So I'm also going to go back up here and add a shadow layer to the protractor itself. So we're going to take that and just draw some lines here and there. And so that's done. And now we can drop in our highlights. So the shadows have been placed. And I want to use more of a blue, so go for that. And we're going to go to my trusty brush called the light brush and start dropping in some reflectivity on the glasses. There we go. So I'm going to use the add function, the add blending mode to really give it some contrast and reflectivity. That's looking pretty awesome. And I want to use a more prominent blue. And so once that is done, the lighting, I'm actually going to add like this little thing of lightning that kind of pops off of his fingertip. Right. And we're going to have some light that's kind of hitting on his jacket, some indication of light of a light source. And I'm going to build a sort of force field around this protractor. So I'm going to use a softer brush, airbrush. And we're going to put we're going to play around with using multiple layers to create a kind of force field. So I'm going to take this one, put it on top, like so, and then sort of airbrush away like the center, so it's better. Okay, so we have the protractor. And we're going to start dropping in some colors, some accent colors, a secondary light source onto the character, just to make that pop a little bit more. Perfect. And I'll lower the opacity so it's not this stark of a light source. And then we just have some light hitting the side of his face again. And just a little bit of light there. And there we go. And so I will add another element, a ground plane. Just will take a quick second. We're going to drop a blue. Place that here. So it feels like he's kind of grounded in space. Perfect. And so this concludes our final streaming session related to the STEAM workshop. Thanks again for everyone for joining me during this week. This has been a great opportunity to kind of develop characters in this kind of steampunk world. And we're excited for you to see the rest of the program for today. But thank you. You have a good day.